Pokemon 151 and the pre-order situation with Surging Sparks have the Pokemon world in absolute hysteria mode right now.
Jesus Christ.
We're going to go ahead and take a look at the market on Pokemon 151 singles and see how it's been affected since we got that reprint or new product news for English 151 last week. And then we're going to take a look at Surging Sparks pre-order booster box prices and kind of analyze the data and maybe what to expect with that. I'm also going to take a look at a couple of products that are being shadowed by all of this hype and craziness going on with Surging Sparks and 151. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about that is definitely being shadowed right now by all the hype between Surging Sparks and the 151 stuff is Twilight Masquerade booster boxes. Guys, this set is not even 5 months old, and the booster box prices are already over retail price. New MSRP, which people were like, oh, I'm never gonna pay that price on a booster box of Scarlet and Violet. Well, guess what? You are. You guys are. Everybody is going nuts with Twilight Masquerade chasing that Greninja right now, and there are none of these boxes at most distros now. They do not have any. So the only ones that are available are on eBay, or if maybe they're hoarding them. Some distros might be hoarding them, but they're not selling them to us. And I have 3 different distros. Not a single one has Twilight Masquerade in stock. And they're also running thin on sleeve boosters too. So look at these box sales though, 166, 168, 170, and a lot of these guys with tax, you're looking at over $170 a box for a set in Scarlet and Violet that is not even 6 months old. That is absolutely insane, and I think a lot of people haven't even been keeping an eye on this because of Surging Sparks and all the 151 news. So a lot of people haven't even been paying attention to the Twilight Masquerade boxes. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the big 3. First, we'll talk about Venusaur. Last week, we saw the market price at about $70-ish, and you're gonna see a lot of the same today, guys. It is at the 66 mark right here. Make sure it's above my camera so y'all can see it right here. But it did get a little bit of a plateau, and let's look at the sales data and see what we got in the actual numbers. Only 1 sold listing today, which is pretty crazy, but we had a decent chunk of sold listings yesterday. In that 65 range, there was 1 sold for up to $80. We had an LP at 65, which is pretty wild, considering that a couple of near mint copies sold for that exact price. So that must have been a pretty close to near mint copy to sell at that price, I would assume, but still a lot of sales data in that $65 to $70 range. So really no change from last week with the reprint news on the Venusaur EX. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Blastoise again. Same thing last week. It was around the $70 range, maybe a little higher. We did have some sales in the 90s, but those might have been kind of outliers. Let's see and look what we got today. We do, oh, this is weird. So we have a market price of 42, but I think this is just some market manipulation issue that TCG Player probably didn't fix yet. Let's look at the sales data. Yeah, sales data is still saying about the same thing. Now, remember, last week when we looked, this had a very wide range. We had listings as low as $60, and we had listings as high as $90 being sold on this Blastoise. The range was super wide on this last week when we looked, but it does look like it's a little bit more dialed in this time. It's more between 65 and 80, but there are still a couple outliers up here at that $90 range, man, and I think that people are just willing to pay the extra money for the big 3 right now because they are so worried about the prices moving up and catching up to where Charizard is maybe. But I think a lot of this has to do right now with the other products hitting the shelves. So not necessarily the reprint news and the new product news that we got for February, but the Costco 5-pack tin bundles that are hitting everywhere right now in the United States. So those are landing on showroom floors as of last week, at the end of last week. So I think you're starting to see some sales data from people popping those packs open and then trying to sell some cards and just recoup what they spent and maybe keeping some of the duplicates or other cards they need and just selling the higher dollar cards. So let's see what Charizard did, because I'm really interested to see if this one dropped a lot or not. And we were looking at like 200 to 220 on sold listings. So it does say 183 on the market price here, but we were seeing listings for the 220 range last week when we were looking at sales price data. And this time it is definitely all under 100. There's one sale that I see for 200, but almost all of it is in that 180 to 190 range now. So definitely a cool down on Charizard. My guess then, if that's the case, is most people are taking their profits from Charizard and getting into Paldean Fates with Bubble Mew, or maybe the Charizard from Paldean Fates as well. We'll take a look at that chart next, but Bubble Mew going crazy. It's doubled since last week, guys. It was at like $100 last week, slightly above, and it is almost up to $180. There's sold listings for even higher than that right now. If you go look at the sales data, we have listings for 169, 170, 169, 171. That was an LP copy. That wasn't even a near mint copy that sold at that price. So listings at that price before tax, so people are paying over $180 for Bubble Mews right now on TCG Player. Now, if you look at the Charizard, I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to take their profits from Sunzard for right now, since there is the kind of reprint looming, or not reprint, but new product that's basically a reprint because they have to packs in order to fill that product, because if they would have had the packs already, they would have made that new set or that new premium collection come out in December for the holidays. They wouldn't have waited till February. So my guess is they're having to wait to print a lot of product to fill that demand. So I do think that a lot of people are taking profits and trying to put money into lower priced cards like the Charizard EX, which is only at $100. And this was number one in the set for a while, so I do think this has room to grow as well. And it already is seeing a little bit of a climb back up to 121. So you might see this get very close to the Bubble Mew in the next few weeks. So just something to keep on your radar, not necessarily saying this card's going to go insane, but just something to keep an eye on your radar if you are waiting to pull the trigger to finally buy a copy. But there are still plenty of Paldean Fates products out there to find if you are looking just for Paldean Fates booster packs or ETBs and stuff like that. Those are still on retail shelves, kind of a lot of different places, so not very hard to find. All right, guys, we're gonna take a look at Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks is going absolutely insane right now. Pre-order prices are up over almost $140, and guys, market price of $137.57 means once you pay tax, you're paying almost $150 for a booster box of Surging Sparks. I've talked to all my distros, and they said they do not have any news on when there's going to be another wave of this. So I'm really curious to see if they're hoarding stuff or if they're being truthful and there's just nothing left. So I don't know what to expect with this in the future. I don't know if this is going to be one of those crazy anomalies where we see a box go to $200 after release. We might see the demand taper down after release, but we just don't know. There's too many factors going into this right now. And the pre-orders are just, I mean, me as a smaller business owner, I'm losing my mind. I can only imagine the people that handle way more products and way more customers are handling this. Because it's really hard to figure out what to do with the product, because obviously you as a business owner, you don't want to miss out on potential gains, but at the same time you don't want to promise your customers one thing and then raise the price and say you're going to do another. So there's definitely got to be some kind of give and take when it comes to stuff like that. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of businesses out there that are canceling pre-orders and then marking them up to a higher price. So hopefully you're not one of those crappy businesses that offered pre-orders, made people pay up front, got that capital and used that capital for other things, and now you're canceling their order and giving them that money back. That is absolutely piss poor business. I really hope that you are not doing that to your customers. So I do know a lot of people that have been telling me stories about that. They got pre-orders for $110, $115 weeks ago, and then now those orders are being canceled, and those same people are listing the prices higher. So I really hope that doesn't happen too much, and I'm sorry if that's something that happens to you guys. It definitely stinks. And if we're seeing this kind of sales data and pre-order data for this set, guys, if we're seeing this kind of sales data for this set, imagine what's going to happen when Team Rocket comes out in March or April of next year. Now, we don't have the press release for English yet, but for Japan, we know Battle Partners is coming out in February. We know Heatwave Arena is coming out in March, and we know that Glory of Team Rocket is coming out in April. Now, if they make all three of those sets be our one single Team Rocket set as our next main set in the spring or late winter of next year, that set's going to be bigger than Paldea Evolved. The pull rates are going to be tougher than Paldea Evolved in the early portion of Scarlet and Violet, and you know Pokemon's not going to drop the ball on the art in the Team Rocket set, the throwback set. They're not going to drop the ball. So you might actually see booster boxes start at this price and climb even higher if it's the same similar situation when we get to that point. Now, economic changes can also change it. Like obviously right now, Bitcoin's at an all-time high, which tends to correlate a lot with Pokemon singles and booster box prices, which a lot of people don't look at that, but it actually does kind of correlate with it pretty well sometimes. So that can also be the reason why we're seeing unprecedented highs when it comes to singles and also sealed products, because people are able to move around money a little bit more freely since they're up on profits from crypto. I know it's very, very odd to talk about, but it is definitely something to keep in mind if you guys are looking at the markets, because they definitely tend to run in tandem sometimes. But either way, I'm super excited about Surging Sparks. Crazy pre-order prices or not, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a 1,000 pack opening next week, so if you guys want to get in on that, make sure that you have your bells turned on for when we make the community post whenever those boxes and those booster packs come available to get into the live stream. We're going to be doing giveaways that day too, so can't wait to see you all in chat. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next video or the next live.